Hi, I'm Debbie Hartner.
I'm Elsie Johnson.
And we are two sisters, Southern Cooking.
We are starting our potato pot pie. The first thing is to get your meat done, and I got a really good deal on this country style ribs at Harvey's the other day. So I'm going to take and just put them in the pot. Today we're going to pressurize them and pressure cook them so that they get done faster. There's like 5 ribs here, so this is going to be a lot of nice meat in here. You can use pork chops. What else, Mom? Pork chops. You could even do chicken if you chose to do chicken, but I don't think chicken has as good a flavor as pork in this dish. But Mom's used pork chops. She's used ribs. She's used the little short boneless ribs would be good. Any kind of rib. So we got 8 cups of water here. We may need another 4 cups just to make sure that we're covered, but
I think we're good, Elsie.
I think we're good with 8 cups because you don't want to fill it too much when you're doing pressure cooking, because the liquid, if you get too much in there, the liquid will come out the top of the steam hole. We're putting in, you can season to taste after you do this, but we're doing some salt and pepper. And what did you just put in?
I put in 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper.
So we will put this on the stove to pressure cook for, I'm going to say maybe 45 minutes, and we'll check it. And then while we're doing that, then we'll start slicing the potatoes. I've got the dumplings thawing out that I purchased. I purchased 2 bags. They're 1.5 pound dumplings each package. So we got 3 pounds of dumplings. We got enough dumplings. So we'll have a good amount of sliced potatoes and dumplings in here, and our pork ribs.
I know a lot of people were asking us about this recipe, and we're going to actually put it on Pinterest, I think, because nobody has this recipe out there.
And this goes back as far as us as little kids. I think, didn't you do it when your grandma and grandpa? My real grandmother, Elsie.
Our mom's off camera because she's kind of shy, but she's here to supervise us today.
But she's saying that our great-grandparents, as far back as what she remembers it being, which would be my grandma Elsie that I'm named for, her parents. So this is pretty much a German Dutch dish, and it's very, very good. And like I said last week, when I plate it up, I usually put a splash of white vinegar on mine. I love it that way. It's try it without it. All right, the meat is done. We had 8 cups of water with the meat. This is the meat that basically just falls apart. It's really, really good. With just salt and pepper. That's all we cooked it in. Water and salt and pepper, and it's so delicious. We added 4 more cups of water to this so that we would have enough broth. And we're going to start layering. These are my frozen dumplings. I let them sit out all day. These you get in the freezer section at most any grocery store. I think these are called Auntie B's or something like that is the brand. But they're really good dumplings. I usually take and cut them in half so that you have more of a bite-sized piece of dumpling when you go to eat it. And they are definitely better to work with if you've let them thaw to room temperature than trying to handle a frozen dumpling. It's harder to cut them. Right. So Mom had cut all these potatoes up, sliced them, peeled them. So we are going to, it's a little hard to get a good layer because you don't want to stick your hands down in the hot water or hot liquid. So I'm just going to drop them as best as I can.
Do you want to take this?
You could.
We could take that and just scoop them in there.
Yeah, and basically you're just doing a layer of them across the bottom.
There.
Yeah, do another scoop of them, and I think you'll be covered pretty well across the bottom. Whew. Yeah, and then spread them around a little bit so that you make sure you got them covered.
Okay.
All right. Then next we'll start layering our dumplings in. And they will just basically fall wherever you lay them. And when you start to boil this, start it slowly, that way that they don't, and you can take a wooden spoon and kind of just gently stir. That way they don't all clump together, because dumplings will tend to clump together if you don't kind of separate them a little bit when they first start cooking until they get to cooking a little bit.
We put 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 teaspoons of pepper into the meat when we were cooking
It's
it.
so
earlier,
good.
and it was just the right amount. I think we might need to season it a little bit more once we get the starchy.
Right, because we added 4 more cups of water down in there.
Right.
All right, so now we need
Okay.
more potatoes.
Yes.
There you go.
All right.
Just spread them around as best as you can. I think that looks good. Another layer. Grandma used to make real dumplings. Like, I've made dumplings, but this is an easy way. Most anybody can do this. I like using these because these are the most comparable dumpling to a homemade dumpling that I have found. But Grandma used to make, she'd roll out dumplings and cut them with a knife.
Mom did too.
Yeah. And that's how she made this, was with real homemade dumplings. Okay. All right. Ready? Yep.
And this broth in here is going to become very thick.
The starch from the potatoes and the starch from the dumpling will thicken it up naturally. If you find that it needs a little thickening after you're totally done, which a lot of times you don't, you can add a little cornstarch to some liquid and put in there and it'll thicken it right up. But most of the time you don't need to.
Do not pour cornstarch directly into a hot fluid or liquid, because it will become big hard clumps. I
Yeah.
learned that lesson on my own.
You mix it with a little water until it's a white liquid.
Until it's almost like a paste, and then you can pour it in.
Yeah.
It's almost like tempering.
Right. True.
All right.
Okay. We're good. We probably have more
Potatoes than what we
potatoes.
need.
Yeah, we probably have more dumplings too.
You know what?
It goes farther than you realize.
We could probably actually cut these up into small pieces and put these in our chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
What's left over.
Yeah. Let's do just a little more right there. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And what's left over, we'll just put in our potato pot.
I think we can leave that we have left, and we can do.
put in our chicken pot pie.
Yeah, and those
Little
dumplings, I might be able to just refreeze them.
Yeah.
I'll put them in a Ziploc bag and refreeze them because I don't think we're going to need them. I was thinking that we might need 2 packs because of the size pot. But honestly, I think that we're going to be good with just 1 pack. That pack was 1.5 pounds of dumplings. We also are going to put probably a stick of butter down in here. Getting close to the end of the cooking, I always throw a stick of butter in.
And a little bit of salt and pepper. More. Gotta season it up. Make it tasty. It's pretty simple though, honestly. It's almost like 3 ingredients and
Right.
we're done.
Yep. And it's just basically layering.
Yeah, that's the most complex part about this, is the layering of the dumplings.
By
and
the time you're
potatoes.
done and you've stirred it as it's cooking, you know, you try not to disturb the layers too much, but by the time you're done, the layers will get moved around a little bit, and that's okay. I mean, ultimately it's all gonna come out in spoonfuls when you go to serve it, so it's not the end of the world if the layers get mixed up or whatever. I think we got just the right amount with one pack. All right, and that is it. We're gonna put it on the stove, and I'm gonna put it on low. I don't want it to boil too hard because you can't stir it too fast. So I don't want the bottom to scorch. So I will turn it on low, and we'll cook it for about 30 minutes and check it. And if it still needs to cook a little bit more, we might cook it for another 15 minutes or so.
So when do we add in the meat?
When it gets almost done, then we will add in the meat, and that's when your layers get a little bit mixed up. It's because you're gonna separate all that meat, which is basically falling apart anyway. It's just gonna crumble in our hands when we go to shred it up. Right. And then we'll just pour it down in here, and we'll just stir it in gently, and then I'd say the last 15 minutes, so in about 30 minutes we'll work on the meat, add it to the pot, and then let it cook for about 15-20 minutes after that, and we'll see if the potatoes taste done. You also want to make sure your dumplings are done. I never pay attention to the directions of cooking the dumplings on the package. I've never looked at the directions ever to know how long to properly cook the dumplings. I just do it. I just do it till the dumpling's done. So honestly, I've never even looked at the directions on the dumpling packet. So I don't even know how long it's supposed to cook for.
We will put it in our recipe.
We will put it in our recipe. I just know how long I cook it, and I taste them, and I just know when they're done. But we'll put in the recipe how long it says on the package of dumplings to cook them, because there is a certain time that you're supposed to cook them.
Right.
But I just don't utilize that. I just do it from experience and from
the way it looks,
and then I taste them as well.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put this on the stove on low, and we'll be right back.
I'm going to just go around the edge and gently move it a little bit. It hasn't even started to boil yet since I put it back on, but I don't want all that to clump together. I'll go down in the middle, just jiggle it around just a little bit, and just gently so that they move slightly in there, so they don't all become one big glob. And then as soon as they start to boil, then we'll start the timer, and we'll cook them for 30 minutes. Okay, this is looking good. It's been cooking for 30 minutes. I'm going to add the rib meat back into it and mix it in as easily as I can. And I'll let it cook for about 15-20 more minutes, and then it'll be done and ready to go. Alright, this is actually done. I just turned the heat off to it. You can see how thick its gravy became. You got potatoes and dumplings mixed throughout. There's you some dumplings right there. And then the pork is shredded up in it. And that was cooking it for 45 minutes from beginning to end. I did 30 minutes of potatoes and dumplings and 15 with the meat back. I'm Elsie
And I'm Debbie.
with Two Sisters Southern Cooking.
We thank you for visiting our page.